The balance of trade stands as a barometer of a country's economic health and its relationship with the global market. It represents the net differences between a country's total export and import. This calculation proves two conditions with the trade surplus and trade deficit. Trade surplus indicates a positive balance of trade in which country export exceeds its import value. Meanwhile, trade deficit is the exact opposite, which occurs when a country import exceeds export value. Economists often analyze the balance of trade because it influences the currency strength, employment, industrial competitiveness, and overall macroeconomic stability.
2.0 Malaysia Trade Dynamics. Malaysia, a country comprising a population of 34.1 million people, has recorded impressive economic growth in the Southeast Asian region. Natural resources in the country significantly contribute to the country's export and import operation. The driving sectors in the country based on the official government portal of the Ministry of Economy include integrated circuit worth RM42.7 billion, petroleum product worth RM8.03 billion, and palm oil worth RM5.21 billion. Between the years 2015 and 2018, the export in Malaysia progressively improved from RM777 million to RM1.004 billion. Additionally, the imports in the countries also improved from RM685 million to RM879 million. The demands for goods such as electrical and electronic products, petroleum, LNG, and palm oil resulted in the country experiencing a trade surplus, thereby promoting economic growth and indirectly fueling the income growth in the country. Despite that, severe challenges emerged in 2019 and 2020 due to the COVID-19 outbreak that began to take effect and influence in the global economy in a number of ways. Malaysia was also affected, experiencing a decrease in the value of export to RM19,760 million and the value of import to RM79,323 million. The country's trade movement in the global economy have been dampened due to the disruption of supply chain movement, the closing of factories, and the decline in the income of the country's household. Despite that, Malaysia posts a trade surplus of RM183,345 million.
Following the implementation of various economic revival strategies, the positive sign began to emerge in the year 2021 with the value of exports rising to 1.241 billion ringgit, and the country also recording an important contribution through imports worth 987,344 million ringgit. The following year began to witness more encouraging signs of global growth with the value of export rising to 1.55 billion ringgit in 2022. Imports too recorded an increase in goods such as electrical and electronic goods, petroleum and chemical products worth 1.293 billion ringgit. Despite this, in 2023, the global demand fell again and Malaysia's export fell by 8% to 1.426 billion ringgit and imports fell by 6.4% to 1.211 billion ringgit. The important goods, namely E&E products, palm oil and rubber, experienced the same effect. Nonetheless, the government has engaged in numerous activities to stabilize the economy. Based on the statement by the current Malaysian Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, robust policies in the form of the Madani Economic Framework and the pragmatic move of the government will ensure ever improving economic resilience in the country. The economy in Malaysia is recovering in a stable manner by 2024. The export rose to 1.507 billion ringgit and the import rose to 1.37 billion ringgit. The country continues to import crucial goods such as electrical machinery by 28.7%, mineral fuels by 16.3%, machinery and computers by 13%. Malaysia's economic growth will be a challenge to the country in the coming years due to its econometric properties.
Japan is a well-known and the most developed country in the world, but has a very limited resources. Because of its limited resources, Japan heavily relies on international trade. This country needs to import many things like oil, gas, food and raw materials, but also exporting cars, machinery, electronic, and other high technology products. Looking from the data trade 2015 to 2034, we now can see how Japan's trade balance changed time to time. From 2015 to 2018, Japan export and import stably increased. It shows that Japan's exports went from $624 billion to $738 billion because many buyers from other countries bought cars, machines, and electronic parts, while imports also stably increased because they needed more raw materials to support its industry. A small deficit also occurred, yet the economy remains the same and stable. In 2019 and 2020, many things changed during COVID-19 that makes their export drop from 756 billion USD to 705 billion USD, while imports also dropped down since their factories slowed their production. But although many things happened, Japan recorded a small surplus in 2020 because import fell more than export. Overall, during COVID-19, the industry in Japan that affected are automotive and electronics due to supply chain problems.
Japan's exports started to increase when the world slowly recovering from COVID-19 in 2021 and 2022. It increased to 756 billion USD, but imports rose a lot to 897 billion USD caused from the global fuel prices that were high. It caused biggest trade deficit that Japan faced during the period. In 2023, both export and import decreased once again caused by weaker global demand, and Japan still faced a trade deficit, but it was smaller compared in 2022. Japan showed sign of improvement in 2024 when export increased around 714 billion USD, while imports were about 751 billion USD as the supply chains get more stable and the global demand fully recovered. Overall, the data shows that Japan really depends on global markets a lot. The country was strong in producing high technology products, but still a must for importing many essential resources. Even faced with COVID-19, fuel prices change and supply chain issues, but Japan still remains the top of the world's major trading nations.
Malaysia's export structure is mostly centered on raw materials such as palm oil, crude petroleum and rubber. Japan, however, focuses on exporting finished products that rely heavily on advanced technology. For examples, cars, electronics, and industrial machine. This is because these goods require high skill and innovation. Japanese products usually carry higher prices in international market. In macroeconomic terms, countries that export high-value products tend to gain more stable income from a trade. A trade surplus happens when export earning higher than imports payment. This situation increases demand for the country's currency, strengthens its exchange rate, and supports overall economic growth. Meanwhile, a trade deficit occurs when imports exceed export. When this happens, a country needs to send more money abroad, which can be put pressure on its currency and weaken economic performance if the deficit continues for a long period.
This explains that the fundamental relationship between Malaysia and Japan trade performance with macroeconomics such as its currency, inflation and economic health. First, the power of export is undeniable. According to Bank Negara Malaysia, stated that export of goods and services continue to expand while capital and intermediate imports growth moderate. As foreign demand for Malaysia and Japan goods and services increases, resulting in an extreme rise in both aggregate demand and the national output. For the year as a whole, the Malaysia economy grew by 5.1% in 2024 compared to 2023, which is 3.6%. However, Japan economy grew by 0.1% compared to 1.5% in 2023. This growth is directly linked to the value of currency. When local currencies such as Malaysia ringgit and yen get stronger, its products instantly become more costly for foreign buyers. Because these products are now pricier, fewer people from abroad buy them, causing export sales to slow down. Moreover, the cost of goods is dictated by the global supply chain. When a country dependent on importing raw material abroad, from petrol, gas to integrated circuits, increase in their global price of local currency, thus resulting into the rise of production costs for manufacturers. Ultimately, this simple measure of export versus import is not just an accounting ledger, it's a powerful indicator of a country's true underlying economic strength and its global competitiveness.
Overall, Malaysia recorded a higher trade surplus than Japan. With the availability of key resources such as LNG and palm oil, rubber and electricity and electronics, Malaysia's economic activities are growing rapidly in line with the development of the modern era. This is said to be because high demand from other countries is pushing the Malaysian sector to produce more goods and export goods abroad, which is completely dependent on Malaysia's main trade resources in developing their economy. Similarly, Japan, which has high-tech goods where machinery, vehicle and industrial equipment are exported abroad, can help Japan's economic growth more rapidly. With the availability of key resources from these two countries, namely Japan and Malaysia, it will clearly be able to help supply goods to the economies of other countries to meet the needs of the world market.